Yo, it's the Saturday Night Delight here, Tyler Tirva, and you're here for Talk Solid Wrestling.
Welcome to another episode of Talk Solid Wrestling. This episode, we are talking to Tyler Tirva, the Saturday Night Delight, hailing from your girlfriend's dreams. The guy has about 100 nicknames, and one that I think he should have added to that list. We're going to get into that a little bit later in the episode, but we're going to talk about a lot of different things, his journey into pro wrestling, how that led him to personal fitness, and the story from there. If you like what you hear and what you see, if you've ever been to a Rock Solid Wrestling event, you need to follow Tyler Tirva across all the major social platforms at Tyler Tirva. All right, let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it. Head to ringside. Danny, ring the bell. So I got to start off with like a chicken and the egg question. Which was it for you first? Love of pro wrestling or love of fitness and bodybuilding and athletics? What came first for you?
Oh, definitely pro wrestling.
How early
So,
do you think you were when you kind of like fell in love with it?
so the story that my mother always told me is that I was like pretty nonverbal and around the age of 2.
I'm going to interrupt you for a second to say, for anybody listening who has seen Tyler Tirva cut a promo or yak in the ring, the idea of you being nonverbal is kind of mind blowing. So I'm so glad that you shared that on this show.
Yeah, because I was that young. Because then I became too verbal. So yeah, I'd be put down for it, like to have a nap, and then when I would hear the Saturday night's main event theme go, I would shake and go and then I would just like sit on the floor and watch it. But my mom always said it was around the age of 2.
It sounds like you had a religious experience, man. Like the power of Hulkamania was literally running through your veins at that young age. My goodness.
Oh yeah, and then I had a Hulk Rules and a Macho Man T-shirt to boot at that, like in that same time frame. So it was just a matter of switching between which mega power was better.
That's so cool. Did you have family members that liked wrestling as well? Was this something that was like passed down to you?
Yeah, that was actually something that my family did. So the so like because I was the youngest, and then I have 2 sisters and my parents, and so yeah, I had a sister that was obsessed with like Miss Elizabeth, another one that had like rocker shirts, and we had like figures galore. My dad's favorite was Hercules Hernandez. I don't know who my mom's favorite was, but she was always watching it. So like it was Saturday night's main event was a thing that we did. It was the only time we had pop and like homemade pizza. So it was pretty
She
big deal.
she didn't want to tell you, but it was Rick Rude. It's always Rick Rude.
It's probably
The moms always loved Rick Rude.
I wouldn't doubt it. It makes sense. My dad had a Rick Rude mustache, so it makes sense.
Proof is in the pudding, sir. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah.
And you kept that tradition alive quite a bit for a while there. You had a pretty nice looking stash for a while too, sir, which folks can check out if they look at Unsanctioned Season 2 on rocksolidfanclub.ca. I promise I will not litter the episode with little plugs. I just thought I would throw that tiny one in there. All right, getting back on track. So you're a young lad watching pro wrestling, and
Yeah.
was it just seeing these hulking comic book characters come to life that made you be like, I want to look like that. That's what I want to do. I want to be a wrestler. And so you thought like, okay, well then I got to have a body like a wrestler. Or was it something else that kind of triggered that kind of obsession with fitness and health?
Um, at first, like I was just super young, so I just thought that that's like I think at first like because I had all the figures, so I was like, oh, all these guys are jacked. And then like I got out of wrestling for a bit, and then when I got back into it and like thought about wanting to be a wrestler, I just always thought that it came with the territory. So like fitness became number one at that time, because like I was always told from day one of my wrestling school, of one getting started, that like if you don't look the part, you'll never be the part.
The airport test. We always hear about it, right? If you walk through a airport or a crowded room or something, do people look at you and say like, ooh, that guy's got star quality, whether that's like a physique or whether that's like good looks or something, right? You got to have something that makes you stand out. So absolutely makes sense. So then the next question is, okay, so you get in your head, I got to look like these guys. I got to look the part if I want to do this and I want to do this. So where does it start? Do you go to like a high school coach, or like were you playing athletics? Were you doing sports at that time?
So I had just finished college, and uh, at the time, my college girlfriend had broken up with me, and so a buddy, he was like, "Hey, come to the gym with me." And so we trained chest, which was my first day at the gym, and that was the last time that I didn't work out every single week for the last like 20 years.
The gym turning pain into pumps for since the beginning of time, really.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And like, but I got hooked right away. Like I got hooked on the fact that I was like, oh, this is something I can always work at. And so it was always like a constant progression of like I'd see someone that had a certain body part that they had built. So like a guy in the gym, say he had like big triceps. Well, I'd just go up and ask him. I'd be like, hey, what do you do for your triceps? Why are they so big? And I literally, for well over a year, every single workout, every single time I was at the gym, I was asking questions. And so I was just like a student of the fitness game. And then I'd try it. And if it worked for me, I'd keep it. If it didn't, then I'd see like what I wanted to do with it or try it again 3 months down the line.
So you were really like a self-taught guy in the sense of like you didn't start with a certain program or place or getting like taught from somebody. You just dived in head first and said, "Okay, well, I'm just going to experiment and see what works."
I ex Yeah, yes and no, because like my buddy helped me structure. Like we worked out that first week a couple times, so like I kept that as like what I did for my first 2 weeks. But like my dad always worked out, and so he had all different magazines in the basement and whatnot. And I remember looking back then. You'd look on bodybuilding.com, and so I would go on and I'd try like then I'd have like a leg day program, and I would yeah, I was like I was actually learning programming like in my like probably my third week of working out of like starting to research and figure out what works. But then it always came down to like always came down to trying it myself and feel, and then that's how I was able to eliminate and maximize like what I thought made sense, along with like reading every day.
Now, I got to ask about bodybuilding culture because you just mentioned the magazines, and I
Yeah,
used to have a subscription to Muscle and Fitness, and these are very popular magazines throughout my childhood, and I'm sure through yours as well. Did you subscribe, or did you like look check those out? And if you did you have anybody that like stood out as like, oh, the guy? Like, I mean, I know for like probably your dad's generation, my dad's generation, it was Arnold, Franco Columbo, those kind of guys. For me, it was like Jay Cutler, Ronnie Coleman. Those were the guys that were on my magazines growing up. Was there anybody like that for you from the bodybuilding world?
I was never into bodybuilding like when I started working out. Actually, like that's actually just something that's been more what I would like implement as like a small percentage of what I do. Everything for me was like strength related and like figuring out how to maximize like sport performance. So it was always about like if I maximize how heavy my back squat is going to be, how is that going to transfer like into like how I can jump or like being able to utilize it, like trying to lift a guy up. Like if I'm 30 minutes into a match, well, if I want to lift up a 400-pound guy, like I'm going to need to be able to do that at 45 minutes into my workout. So like I would try to implement some more like real life stuff. It wasn't for me, it wasn't bodybuilding. That was just how like I just finished workouts with like chasing the pump or like trying to maximize like the growth of certain muscles once I started.
I see you trying to play it off right now, but like you and I can both talk from experience. The pump is awesome. You chase the pump, guys and gals. Chase the pump. It's fine. You can chase it. It's okay. It feels good. You can do that.
It
But
does.
it sounds like so much of your training was based in functionality. And a lot of
Yeah.
people train for functionality, which is great and a fantastic goal. But you had a very specific focus on your functionality, which was the ring. It sounded like everything revolved around how will this make me a better pro wrestler? Am I kind of getting that idea correct?
Yeah, but it's more just like it's my love for human performance. It just so happened that I wrestled. So there's
Okay.
like so it's not like yes, wrestling's always the priority in my obsession. Like through my 20s and then like up till now. But it wasn't number one. It's more just like if I alter this thing in my training, it'll set me up for what I do in 4 weeks in my training and then 8 weeks in my training so that I can then maybe jump a certain height in week 12 from where I am because I need to peak based on what I might be training for or something. So like I like to get into the weeds of like the in-depth of like what true training is. Like it's not just like I don't just work out. Everything I do has a reason behind it because it connects to the next thing that I'm working towards.
Do you find that that bleeds into other aspects of your life? Are you kind of like that with everything, or do you find that that's something that is specifically focused for when you're in the gym or between the ropes?
I only have two speeds, all the way on and all the way off. So I'm all in or all out. So yeah, it's definitely that's just how I do everything. I like yeah, I can't just scratch the surface with anything. I either have like full commitment or none.
That is awesome. By the way, t-shirt right there. Two speeds, all the way in or all the way out. I love it.
It's still PG, but yeah.
Yeah, I totally. Just it's all very family friendly. It's okay. You didn't hear what you thought you heard. That's fine. It's okay.
It's true.
And if you did, that's on you. That's on
That's on
you,
me. That's
listener.
true. It's my soundbite. Yeah.
I did want to sidetrack just a minute because you had talked about performing for strength and the idea of like if I want to pick up a guy that's heavier than me, but I want to be able to perform this move on him. Does that mean that rather than looking at bodybuilders for inspiration, did you find yourself following guys on like a strongman circuit, or was it just kind of any athlete that was in that peak or elite level of performance that inspired you?
So I became a personal trainer 1 year into working out. And so my fitness Bible was according to Charles Poliquin. So everything, so he at the time he had trained athletes in I believe 29 different Olympic events that had medaled. And I know he was like really big on training a lot of American and Canadian hockey players, excuse me, that had played in the Olympics. Anyways, so he was always like all of his training and all of his teachings and all of his training principles, they were all fundamentals of like old Soviet weightlifting. Since I'm Lithuanian, it kind of makes sense. So I kind of like that aspect of it. But yeah, like it all, and then he would get into different like he'd always reference different training protocols of like the Bulgarians, Eastern Europeans, even like the Chinese and Japanese and what they do that's different. And yeah, like he was always just trying to maximize human performance. And so a lot of what he was teaching in the articles that he would write, it would like have like it would just so happen that you would gain muscle from a lot of it, but a lot of it was Olympic lifting. A lot of it was like you're doing like heavy chin ups and squats and deadlifts and dips and like all these like old school more lifts. And that was like I remember first learning those movements first, and I loved all those movements. So it just made sense to then like follow all the training principles of someone that like revolved the nucleus of what he did around the things I realized I already liked.
First and foremost, how has the nickname Lithuanian Lover not been attached to you yet? That is my first question. But my actual question would be, you talk a lot about functionality and the way that the
Yeah.
body works and anatomy works. What is there something about that that just kind of sparks or appeals to you? Because it really takes something for somebody to be like, this is really cool. I'm going to go and test this out on myself. Do you know what I mean? Like, I
Mm-hmm.
think that it does take a very specific type of brain to be like, I'm going to turn myself into an experiment. So it's this idea of like, and I only bring this up because you also mentioned that you're a trainer and you trained about a
Yeah.
first 1 year into working out. And I wanted to kind of marry those two ideas together in this idea that, you are helping people with their fitness goals and their fitness journeys while at the same time also tinkering and adjusting and getting yourself to those next levels. And I wanted to ask, first of all, the 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 motivation behind wanting to do work as a personal trainer, because for some people you get in the gym and they love being in the gym and they love working out, but teaching is not the same as doing, and it's a
Mhm.
big difference. So what was the motivation behind that? And then um which do you find you get a bigger thrill out of, when you're working with somebody and they're able to get to that next level, or whenever you're working with something that you've been working on for a while and you hit that next level?
For me, it's both. Um, like you get different, like the role as a coach and the role as a player, they're two completely different worlds. I'm just fortunate that I feel like I was able to figure out how to help merge them. So at first, the reason why I started training is because I saw it as this is more time that I get to spend on working on my own training, because I now get to use all the other reps that I see of coaching and training someone else to help me maximize my own, because it was all continuous learning. Same with the reason why I read every day. I would read and learn something every day that I could then describe into one sentence so I could then teach it to a client. So if I didn't have the answer to something that like one of my clients who trusted me to pay me money to help them with their fitness journey, if their question was, let's say like, oh, what type of magnesium should I take? Well, I would, if I didn't know the answer, I wouldn't answer it right then, but we would lead off the next session by me then breaking down like, okay, maybe you need magnesium glycinate because because you're wanting a magnesium that's going to help with muscle soreness. So that would be the one that I would pick. But then to answer your other question, like for sure, I get my own fulfillment about finally hitting my goal that I set 12 weeks earlier to finally hit it in that workout. For me, there's no better feeling because there's an adrenaline rush to that. But when I've also then put in all the energy and the time into someone to help them get to their goals, honestly, like it's so identical, because as a coach, you you've wanted this sometimes more than they've wanted it the majority of the way along. And the hard part is I only get to control the 2 or 3 hours I might be with them in the gym each week, where they have all those other hours for the rest of the week on their own. So helping them get to where they want to be, like it's a long journey sometimes and it's a hard road, but when people get there, like they're so thankful for having you by their side and helping them through it, that like there's literally no greater feeling for me.
I can speak to that from experience. I know that you've probably passed so many plateaus over the years that you probably can't remember them all, obviously. But is there one or two that maybe stand out for you as a moment that's really stuck with you as something that you really worked hard towards, either on yourself or with another client, that really made you feel accomplished with what you had set out to do?
Yeah, for me, it was the first time I overhead squatted 230 pounds. So at the time, I think I weighed about 205, and to put like to overhead squat and then go full on ass to grass at 230. I remember when I dropped the bar on the ground, like just being so amped, because there was about 40 or 50 people in the gym at the time too. So I of course let out like a big cheer. So I remember that day extremely vividly. Uh, Same with yeah, for me there's like three. So there's that one. I had 445s around my waist and did dips. So that's 180 pounds of added weight. So the first time I ever did that, that one I worked on for like I really put a year into that one. Once I had got to like two plates, I was like, okay, I want to double this. So that was a big year. And then I think I did 135 pounds strapped to my waist for chin ups. And I only weighed 190 pounds at the time. So the percentage of body weight like attached to me on top of my own, that's what I took the most pride in, is always like like yeah, some of those maximal ones. But like those are some of my those are some of my old ones. And then like last year I did a trap bar deadlift of 555. I thought that was pretty cool because I had only tried it like 5 or 6 sessions over the span of the year, because I just worked on other things, and I went from like I had never done 400 pounds and ended up at 555. So that was, for me, that was a big year. Um, so those are like personal ones. With clients, I remember I had a 38-year-old female in week 8 do 2 chin-ups, um, having never done a chin-up in her life. So by week 8, like that's really fast. Typically, it's like a 12 weeks is the quickest you can take someone, but usually they've had a big training background to take them from like nothing to one body weight chin-up. But she hit 2 on week 8. That was pretty cool. Um, and that's one of like physical performance that stands out. I'm trying to think of yeah, those are, I guess that's like the main one off the top of my head from a performance standpoint. Oh, and then just like one of the honestly, I totally forgot about this one. So I had a client that like just couldn't, like wouldn't jump. She was like completely scared of the box. And the boxes at the gym where we were completely wooden. So she was afraid of getting like ripping her shin completely down the front. Cause if you missed, you have nowhere else to go. And I sat there for 28 minutes until she jumped onto this box that was twice as high as she'd ever done. And she was so mad and went through everything. There was a point where I didn't speak for over 10 minutes. And I just said, you're going to get it. This is all mental. You just need to get over it. And so and I was pretty young into my training career. I was only like 2 or 3 years in. So I remember like when she jumped on top of that box and then bragged to every single person in the gym for the next like week. That for me, that was one of the coolest moments.
I can't think of a more inspiring way
Sorry.
to end the episode, and perfect timing because there's the bell. Wow, that means it's a time limit draw, which means we're gonna have to have you back for a rematch, Tyler. But man, oh man, I just
Sounds
want to
good.
say, listening to you just say all that stuff, and if you're a rock solid wrestling fan and you've seen him in the ring and you're wondering how he does all the things that he does, why he's the Saturday Night Delight, well, I think you just got your answer. Tyler Turva, thank you so much for being on the show today, my man. This was an absolute pleasure. We're going to have you back for a rematch.
Absolutely. I'm down. That was great. Thanks so much for having me.
Man, what a great chat we had with Tyler Turva. Unfortunately, the bell has to ring, which means a no contest. We're going to have him back again for a rematch. If you're listening to this on YouTube, please do us a favor, like the episode, subscribe to the channel so that you catch every new episode of Talk Solid Wrestling. If you're watching or listening to this on Spotify and iTunes, do us a favor, leave a review and comment deadlift. That's my favorite exercise. Tyler knows that. Comment deadlift. It would help us out with the algorithm. And I would like to take a moment to get you all to visit rocksolidgear.ca. That's a great way to help us out at Rock Solid Wrestling. Go buy some merchandise. Put some money in our pocket. I recommend checking out something from the Neon collection. It's a pretty cool collection, a lot of bright colors, some different designs of the Rock Solid Wrestling logo with a fun 80s kind of spin on it. I think Tyler Trevor would look really good in something from the Neon collection. Have you got a question for a future episode and ask Adam anything? Well, send that via email to info@rocksolidpro.ca. Thank you to our producer, Danny, and Pulse Hook Audio for the edit. And thank you for listening to Talk Solid Wrestling. We'll see you ringside for the next episode.